Stay tuned for the most fun ever on home video.
Touchstone Pictures presents the oddest couple you've ever seen. Roger Rabbit and Eddie Valiant.
Hey, Eddie!
They've got their differences.
You don't. I do. You don't. I do.
They've got their problems.
What are we gonna do?
What's all this we stuff?
They've got nothing in common except their attachment to one another.
But tell me, Eddie, is that a rabbit in your pocket or you're just happy to see me?
Who Framed Roger Rabbit? A Steven Spielberg presentation, a Robert Zemeckis film, rated PG.
Just for the style of it, ooh, the smile of it. Just for the love of it, Diet Coke. Just for the taste of it.
Roger, what are you doing here?
Please, Eddie. I just came to see Jessica and to have a Diet Coke.
Diet Coke.
She's enough to drive a toon loony.
Diet Coke and Roger Rabbit. Who Framed Roger Rabbit is a 1988 American fantasy comedy film directed by Robert Zemeckis. It is loosely based on the 1981 novel Who Censored Roger Rabbit by Gary K. Wolfe. The film stars Bob Hoskins, Christopher Lloyd, Stubby Kaye, and Joanna Cassidy, along with the voices of Charles Fleischer and an uncredited Kathleen Turner, combining live action and animation. The film is set in an alternate history in Hollywood in 1947, where humans and cartoon characters coexist. Who Framed Roger Rabbit was released through Disney's Touchstone Pictures banner in the United States on June 22nd, 1988.
That top 5 could change quite quickly when the movie Who Framed Roger Rabbit hits local theaters. This feature film from director Robert Zemeckis, who gave us Back to the Future, teams cartoons' greatest characters with real actors. The result, a partially animated and uproariously funny film. Here's a movie preview. Take one down-and-out detective named Eddie Valiant, add one good-looking dame, give the guy a trench coat and a murder to solve, and you got the stuff that Hollywood is made of.
Okay, wise guy. Where's the rabbit?
Haven't seen him.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit stars Oscar nominee Bob Hoskins as an on-the-skids gumshoe who's hired by some truly unreal characters, or toons as they're called in the movie, to solve a murder case where the prime suspect is a cartoon character who happens to be named Roger Rabbit. The comic misadventures of Roger Rabbit also stars Joanna Cassidy as Hoskins' loyal girlfriend Dolores and Christopher Lloyd as the sinister Judge Doom. But in this Steven Spielberg production, it's the toons that really take the center stage. Yeah. That's Kathleen Turner's voice, I think.
So they say, and it's not in the credits, though.
Good celebrity voices in this movie. Another reason to see it. You've seen it. It doesn't open until Wednesday, theaters all around the country, but Rob Weller
got a little sneak.
Had an advanced screening.
And you know, every time we say something about a movie, it ends up in the paper. In the ads in the paper. So I want him to get it right this time.
Oh, you're going to give us a quote about the movie?
Yes, as a matter of fact.
Take notes.
It's the first new breakthrough in movie entertainment since The Wizard of Oz. A movie we'll want to see again. And then you just kind of add my little name and that little thing down there.
Rob Weller. Rob, this is the most brazen attempt I have ever heard of to get in the paper.
It sure is. And you may want to check with your papers to see if they got the credits.
If they got the quote right. That's Rob, 2 B's.
Exactly. Well, Roger Rabbit includes just about every animated cartoon character there is, except one very popular cool cat, Garfield.
And background action!
They're going backwards. Right. So to go the way you said, he's got to cut the wheels to the right. So you've got to lean that way.
So it goes like that?
Right, you lean into the, you turn it right, but then you throw yourself right. Because you're going backwards. Right. So you spin that way. Right. So you turn it right and throw yourself right.
So, yeah.
Right, yeah.
And then, would it be better if...
It'd be better if you did it as a lean back instead of a crouch.
What?
Yeah, as far back. Yeah, like that. That's great. Okay. Let's try it.
Bob, is it disconcerting riding backwards?
Well, the whole thing's disconcerting. I'm driving a car that I'm not driving. I'm sort of acting with a rabbit that's not here, and so the engine's Charlie. And he can't see. And we've got a leaking valve and he can't turn right. So it keeps going left and we're going to wind up in the wall. So, yeah, it's a little bit disconcerting.
All for comedy, right?
All for comedy, yeah.
All right, guys, mount up. Picture up. Are you ready?
Mark?
Take it away now.
Action! We're going backwards. Turn us around. Give me the wheel. Give me the wheel.
Breakthrough right here. Yeah, that's it. This good? I think it's good, yeah. Okay. Everything splatters here. He skids around here and goes down the street.
Before we decide for sure and get it in the wrong place, I think we should bring a car down here, set it where they're going to lock up, so that we make sure that they're not out of frame when they lock up.
I see what you're saying. What you're saying is that by the time they would realistically react, he'd be through the guardrail.
Exactly.
We want to see 3 events: the lady duck, the cars lock up, the thing break. So if we go off them after we've seen the squirreling, then it's fine. But what would be better is to be able to time it so we see each event perfectly and closely, rather than to have to be real wide and miss the impact of that thing breaking away just in case a car is late.
In this shot, we have explosives rigged on cables that will let the elastic stretch back and snap the guardrail open to simulate Benny crashing through this guardrail. Benny will be cartooned in later.
What you're going to do here for me is you're just walking along, and you will have, and I will give you a cue, which will be scream. You'll turn this way. You'll see, can you scream? Like, can you like really scream, like hysterical, like something's going to come and hit you in the face and kill you? Huh? Okay.
No, I can't do it until it happens.
Okay, well, when it happens, so you like, so in other words, it's like one of those like kind of hysterical, like with hands in motion, like really quick, you know, and then I want you to just dive onto this curb.
Dive
right
on
here.
it?
Yeah, don't roll into the street because there's a car coming, but
so you don't,
just hit the dirt right here.
You don't want me to duck at all. You want me just to go
Well, I think it'd be
down?
funnier if you kind of like belly flop
Okay.
onto the pavement. And
head.
Rolling. Hey! Action! And cut. Well done, people. Well done. Back to run here. Now, Charlie, here's the camera. Here's you. Like that. I mean, like this. Charlie, like that. Yerkes, boom, and you're on your own. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. And action, cars. Go, cars. Roll, Pete. Action! And action, Bob. You made it. Charlie. Cut it.
Save it. We're cut.
Print it. Next case.
Okay, we'll
Beauty.
go back to the camera truck.
But the star of tonight's proceedings in Cardiff will undoubtedly be Roger Rabbit, or more likely his next of kin, Jessica Rabbit.
Part of the brief was that she had to be a testimony to what a man could do with a pencil and a fertile imagination. In this sense, she shares the two realities of the cartoon world and the real world. She would have to appeal to the rabbit and Bob Hoskins. This scene was shot split screen. When the actual scene as it appeared, there were two hands holding Stubby K's cheeks, and that's all you had in the shot. It was my problem to put Jessica, the rear end of Jessica, everything, the rest of her into shot to look convincing.
Are you surprised with what you eventually see on screen?
I'm numb from the rabbit. You know, Zemeckis kept saying towards the end, he said, you know, we're not going to believe we did this. I don't know. I'm just, huh? You know, I was just happy I got to the end of it, and we finished on time, and I could pack up my gear and return to some sort of normality, you know.
No one has counted exactly, but it probably works out at 10,000 drawings per minute of film. But it's paying dividends. $147 million at the American box office so far for Roger Rabbit.
Please, don't worry. Whatever you say, yes, ma'am. Aye, aye, sir. Okay.
Boy, I love Roger Rabbit. I am Roger Rabbit. Well, I'm not really Roger Rabbit.
I'm here, baby.
He's Roger Rabbit. I'm Charles Fleischer. But I did create the voice of Roger Rabbit, and I did it every day live on the set when they were filming the movie. You don't believe me, do you?
No thanks, Eddie. I may be a toon, but I'm going to show you I can go out like a man.
I'm here to give you a personally guided tour into the world of the film. I'm going to show you who made Roger Rabbit. I just got a really good idea. I know someone whose advice would be very helpful at this point. Hey, Roger, come here, quick!
What? Out of the TV?
That's right, out of the TV, come on! Roger, I need your advice. What do you think we should cover to tell these people about how we made the movie?
I think you should show them everything. There's the animation or the sound effect for the tunes. Like... Ooh, maybe show them who made the movie. I really hope my idea helped you.
Roger, I think that you and I are on the same page. Or should I say, the same frame. Hey, Raj, you want to join us?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going to zap you back. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, that means you too. So, here we are, inside the world of Roger Rabbit. It looks like the normal, run-of-the-mill cartoon, right? Wrong.
Background and action!
So, to answer the question, who made Roger Rabbit, we really should start with the head honcho. And by that, I don't mean R.K. Maroon. This gentleman is Mr. Steven Spielberg. He was the executive producer. And here, that's Mr. Robert Zemeckis, the director. These two brilliant minds are responsible for bringing Roger Rabbit to the big screen. Allow me to introduce you to award-winning animator, Mr. Richard Williams. He was brought in to direct the animation on Roger Rabbit. His initial sketches established what Roger would look like, and it assisted the filmmakers in figuring out all the aspects of toon acting.
Wouldn't you know? Locked.
It was a big challenge trying to figure out how to take a cartoon character and a human actor and try and figure out how to put them in the same scene and make them look seamless.
I swear!
Wait, hold it. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Just let me back up a little. Whoa! Long before the filming was started, a series of storyboards was created. These are simple sketches that are arranged like panels in a comic strip, and they show the filmmakers what the action is going to look like on the screen. Now, before the animation started, the filmmakers had to shoot all of these scenes using only the human actors. Why? Because the tunes would be added in later. Let's take a look at what I'm talking about.
Take one.
Good-looking guy like that? The Danes will be breaking his door down.
Dames? What dames? Jessica's the only one for me. You'll see. We'll rise above this piddling picadillo. We're gonna be happy again. You got that? Happy. Capital H-A-P-P-I.
When Steven Spielberg saw the first cut of the movie, before the tunes were added, he said that it looked like The Invisible Man returns. To help out the actors, rubber dolls of the missing cartoon characters were used as a reference.
Towards the lens. Arm is in relationship to his eyes. So if your hand's like this, we're cutting him at the eyes, the bottom of the frame line. You gotta get that up so that, yeah.
They brought toon actors to the set to do voices while they filmed the humans.
hell was wrong with that take?
Say something.
Look, stars.
By the way, the suit was my idea. I wore it every day during filming. There were a lot of props that they didn't want the Toons to handle because, you know, you never really know what's gonna happen when Toons handle props. So what did they do? They had a special effects team come in and figure out how to move things around in the real world before the Toons were ever able to get a hold of them. How did they do it? They built mechanical devices, which then picked things up on the set. And you never get to see these contraptions in the movie because they were covered over by the animation. That is brilliant. Additionally, a group of puppeteers lent a hand in moving certain props around on wires, making it appear as if missing Toon characters were right there on the set.
We got a reliable tip-off. The rabbit was here.
You keep talking like that, and I'm gonna have to wash your mouth out.
Through the magic of the special effects team and the artistry of the puppeteers, the invisible Toons came to life. So, this robotic arm later became a plate-smashing Roger Rabbit. And this tray would soon be carried by a penguin waiter.
And these weapons would soon be wielded by weasels.
Valiant's got him stashed somewhere.
When it came time to pull it all together, they filmed the scenes with the special effects, the actors, but no Toons.
Ready!
Action! 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 And cut! How was that, Mr. Zemeckis?
Not bad. Once again, one more.
Once the human actors finished their scenes, the animators went into action. Director Robert Zemeckis worked very closely with Richard Williams and his team of animators to integrate the animation with the live action that had already been shot.
And the rabbit's like doesn't want to go back in, and Hoskins is pushing him down and straining him and like just like doing like Toon squash on the top of his head.
300 of the best animators and production personnel from all over the world were brought together to work on Who Framed Roger Rabbit. To add animation to a scene, every frame of live action footage was made into a still photograph, and then the animators had to hand draw every frame on top of each photo. No computers were used. Now think about that. Someone had to draw every minute movement of the Toons, frame by frame, and then hand paint all the colors onto each cell. Okay, let's do the math and see if we can figure this out. There's 24 frames per second, which means that every 10 seconds would be 240. So,
multiply by the square root of hours in a day. Add the percentage of coffee consumed by the animators.
The total number of cells hand-drawn for Roger Rabbit is 82,000. That's a lot. Next, every animation cell was photographed to film. And when that film is run through a projector, the animation starts to come to life. This is where most animation films have traditionally stopped. But here is where these filmmakers took it one step further. They decided to make their Toons look more lifelike than ever before. The animation and live-action footage was sent to the George Lucas Visual Effects Company, Industrial Light and Magic, the same guys who made Star Wars. It was there the animation received the final touches. Shading, shadows, and highlights were added layer by layer, and then composited together to give the characters a lifelike, three-dimensional look. Every piece of the puzzle in place. Ta-da! 2.5 years later, you've got yourself a movie called Who Framed Roger Rabbit? So, who made Roger Rabbit? I'll tell you. Bob, Stephen, Kathy, Frank, Joanna, Bill, Dean,
Jeffrey, Frank,
Stubby, and me, Charles Fleischer. I hope you enjoyed your journey. Roger and I had an amazing time, and we would both like to thank you. Thank you from me and Roger? Roger.
Roger, what are you doing? Get me out of here, will ya? Don't press the remote! Roger! Put down that remote, Roger!
See you later, Charlie.
Most of the animation was done in London by a team led by the Oscar-winning Canadian Richard Williams, and the aim was always to improve on the traditional marriage of live action and animation.
Well, we were able to make it round. You see, you know, in Bedknobs and Broomstick, they all look like they're pasted on. It's very nice animation, but they're flat. And we were both able to make the things appear round. They're sort of 2.5 dimensional. And they sit inside the film instead of glued on the front. And the camera's zooming around all the time, and so the characters are... You start to believe they're real.
Roger Rabbit was last year's top-grossing film at the American box office, netting 4 Academy Awards. His creator, Richard Williams, lives and works in London.
The funny thing is that the drawings, which from our point of view are very valuable, when people take the cells, the cells, you know, they're shiny, they're wonderful. They're what somebody else has traced or Xeroxed and painted. They sell for much more than the drawings, which is, it amazes me because the drawing's the valuable thing. But it was, I can't say it was fun, because it was too scary and terribly hard work for nearly 3 years. It was, and you drop a stitch, you're in trouble. So we didn't drop a stitch, and that was scary. I'm glad it's over, and I'm glad it's successful.
Roger Rabbit's already achieved national recognition, and the auction has again brought him back into the limelight.
I think it's a great idea, not only to help keep Roger moving in the eyes of the world, but to let people have a little bit of history. And in fact, Roger Rabbit is a historic piece of cinema.
Boy, is that true. 350 million? Come on, what a movie.
In the beginning, there was Mickey. Then came Donald and Bugs.
Pardon me.
Daffy, Betty, and Porky.
Hey, that wasn't in the script.
And Tom and Jerry, Tweety and Sylvester, and Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner. But now there's a new toon in town, and his name is Roger Rabbit. And though Roger is influenced by all the cartoon characters before him, there's one difference. This toon lives in the world of humans.
My buddy Betty B, a sourpuss you'll see. But when I'm done, he'll leave no gun to the joker. He will be.
How would I categorise this film? Totally new. Hopefully, something you've never seen this before, folks.
Marker. Action.
The film is Who Framed Roger Rabbit, the most highly acclaimed movie of the year. Bringing Roger and his adventures to life took more than 3 years. Combining the spirit of Hollywood's past with the technical wizardry of today, this film stands as one of the greatest cinematic achievements ever attempted.
Roger Rabbit is the first cartoon hero in a long while that has both won our hearts, captured our imaginations. In the film, I play one of the humans who gets tangled up in Roger's crazy adventure. I can honestly tell you that working with this rabbit was an adventure in itself. Roger's one special bunny. Join me as we reveal the story behind Roger Rabbit. We will journey back to our childhoods, travel to that crazy place called Toontown, where we'll visit heroes from the past and meet some of our new Toon friends. There are secrets to be told beyond these doors.
I'm here! Roger Rabbit and the Secrets of Toontown, hosted by Joanna Cassidy.
Began with the seemingly simple idea of making a film in which cartoon characters and humans live side by side. What it turned into was one of the largest motion picture productions ever. It took the combined effort of over 700 of the industry's most talented people to bring the film to the screen. And leading the drive was director Robert Zemeckis.
And action.
With his previous hit films, Romancing the Stone and Back to the Future, Zemeckis had proved he could handle large-scale pictures. But many had claimed that Who Framed Roger Rabbit was a film that no one could pull off.
Those
those are the only films worth doing, are the ones that are risky. So, I mean, I decided to spend 2 years of my life on this film because it's challenging.
To create the zany world in which Roger lives, Zemeckis looked to the past for his inspiration. For he and executive producer Steven Spielberg, the film was a tribute to the pioneers of animation who came before.
You know, I and a lot of my generation have been influenced profoundly by the films of Walt Disney, especially the films from the 30s, 40s, and right through the 50s. And I really feel that this is a movie that we're making for Walt.
As a source of inspiration for a generation of filmmakers, Walt Disney is regarded by many as the premier innovator of his day. In the 1930s and 40s, Disney made screen stars of Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, and a host of other cartoon characters. It was the golden age of animation. From other studios, other cartoon greats were born. Betty Boop and Woody the Woodpecker were every bit as popular as Bogart and Bacall. Each of the studios of that period had its own unmistakable trademark. Disney Studios was known for its beautiful animation and believable characters who touched our hearts. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the first animated feature-length film ever, is still as powerful and moving as when it was released 50 years ago.
He was always striving for believability. Even though these were funny little dwarfs and so forth, people came out of that theater crying and blowing their noses. A simple cartoon. And that was a believability that Walt got.
Over at Warner Brothers, the animators took a slightly different approach with their characters.
Okay, Wabbit. Now I got you. What's up, Doc? Insulting my integrity! Hey, fatso!
Of all the cartoon characters of the period, none seemed more sparked with life than those created by the animators at Warner's.
We realized that you can't make a picture about somebody you don't understand. So Daffy Duck is me, and he's you, and he's everybody else. Because what you do is you go down inside yourself and find that personality and bring it to the surface and spread it out.
You're despicable.
Over at MGM, former Warner animator Tex Avery was creating some of animation's funniest cartoon shorts. Avery's trademark was outlandish physical gags. Even though these cartoon classics were made 40 and 50 years ago, they still had a profound influence on the makers of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. To create Roger, Baby Herman, and the other new toon characters, Zemeckis used a recipe that called up the best from animation's past.
We always wanted the Disney technique, the beautiful Disney animation, the great Warner Brothers characterization.
Yes?
And Tex Avery humor. You know, dynamite down your pants type stuff.
Though Roger Rabbit has much in common with his animated ancestors, there's one major difference that sets him apart. Roger lives in the real world of humans. As with all great cartoon characters, Roger has a good sense of humor. But it's his human qualities that we are most attracted to.
No, don't feel guilty about me.
Whether it's comedy or pathos or fear, the idea was I wanted to give the cartoon characters true human emotion.
Roger Rabbit behaves in a very sincere, believable way, like a Disney hero. But then he's capable of going into these sort of extreme things, crazy things. And then he'll return back into this sincere, worried rabbit.
Although Roger is a very complex rabbit, his outlook on life is actually quite simple.
My philosophy is this. If you don't have a good sense of humor, you're better off dead.
But this is not just the story of a rabbit. It's the tale of a partnership between private detective Eddie Valiant, played by Bob Hoskins, and Roger Rabbit, a cartoon star in trouble.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit is the most ultimate buddy movie that you could imagine. It's a true unity of opposites type dramatic story.
You do hate me. Otherwise, you wouldn't have yanked my ears all those times.
All right, I'm sorry I yanked your ears.
All the times you yanked my ears?
For actor Bob Hoskins, it was difficult describing to his young children who he was starring with in the movie.
What can you say to a 2-year-old or a 4-year-old? You know, honey, I've been working with this rabbit. You see, he's about that high with ears, and they look at me as if the old man's gone loopy, you know.
Although working with Toons was a first for Hoskins, Who Framed Roger Rabbit was not the first film in which Toons and humans appeared together. In fact, the idea of combining cartoon characters and live actors is almost as old as animation itself. Of the earliest animated films, Max Fleischer's Out of the Inkwell series was one of the most popular. Fleischer's Coco the Clown was never content to stay on the artist's pad and made frequent journeys into the real world. Likewise, the artist on occasion found himself placed in the world of animation.
Now you go out to the studio and you tell them I sent you.
In 1940, Daffy Duck and Porky Pig made their first appearance in a live-action film. Warner Brothers animator and director Friz Freleng achieved impressive results on an incredibly small budget.
I think the whole thing cost us $600 for live action, and the cartoon itself must have cost a couple $1,000, I guess.
Cut! Throw that guy out of here!
Throughout his career, Walt Disney experimented with combining live action and animation. In The Three Caballeros, he expanded upon the techniques that had been used in earlier efforts, while adding the elements of color, music, and dance. As the mechanics of the process were refined, more intricate interactions between the cartoon characters and the real world became possible. In Anchors Away, Jerry the Mouse succeeded at matching Hollywood legend Gene Kelly step for step. In 1964, Disney released Mary Poppins. The film went on to become the studio's biggest hit. Although this was the most extensive use of live action and animation to date, the animated sequence ran only a short 10 minutes. By comparison, in Roger Rabbit, Toons and humans share the screen for almost the entire film.
Oh, excuse me.
And where previous efforts focused on the antics of a few characters, Who Framed Roger Rabbit introduces a spectrum of new Toon personalities, among them Benny the Cat.
But I want to drive.
No, I'll drive. I'm the cat. Out of my way, pencil neck!
He's a Toon car, and he's got a mouth and a nose and 2 eyes and a bad attitude.
How about those Brooklyn Dodgers? Are they bums or what?
And then there's Baby Herman.
He's kind of a prima donna. He knows he's the biggest star in the maroon cartoons, and, you know, he's a cigar-chomping, martini-drinking little guy.
But of all the supporting characters, the most eye-opening is Roger's wife. Together, Roger and Jessica Rabbit make the most unusual husband and wife team in cartoon history.
Come on, Roger, let's go home. I'll bake you a carrot cake.
Kathleen Turner is the voice of Jessica.
I think that Jessica and Roger Rabbit work so well together because they are such opposites.
Oh, honey bunny.
Oh, love cup.
To me, the fun is the contrast between the reality of her and the wimpishness of this rabbit, you know, and like, how are these two attracted to each other?
Seriously, what do you see in that guy?
He makes me laugh.
What makes the best Toon romances compelling is that in them we can see much of ourselves. There's the initial rush of young love.
It is love at first sight, is it not? No?
The tender moments of the mature relationship. And scenes of domestic bliss.
Porky Pig, shut those kids up. I'm doing the best I can, Petuna, dear.
As important as romantic couples are to cartoons, equally vital is a treacherous villain.
Will be blasted out of Neverland forever. I run him through. Take that!
Listen well, all of you. Before the sun sets on her 16th birthday, she shall prick her finger on the spindle of a spinning wheel and die.
Oh, no.
In the tradition of the past, Who Framed Roger Rabbit introduces the most frightful villain a toon has ever faced, the maniacal Judge Doom.
They're not kid gloves, Mr. Valiant.
Doom is the essence of destruction. Doom is evil. Doom is everything that is evil.
Historically, toons such as Roger have proven to be indestructible. No human could hope to survive even the most routine day in Roger's life. Seemingly, no amount of physical abuse can do a toon serious harm. But all that has changed, for Judge Doom has found a way to permanently do in a toon.
Obviously, you can't hurt a toon by throwing him off a cliff. I mean, we all know that. But since cartoons are basically made of, paint and celluloid and ink, Judge Doom came up with a chemical, and it's been nicknamed the Dip.
With this mixture of turpentine and other deadly chemicals, Doom has a ghastly weapon with which he can literally melt Roger into oblivion.
There'd be nothing left but an oily paint slick. It's rough, and it's not pretty.
In the tradition of toon heroes of the past, it's Roger Rabbit to the rescue.
Yes, it's me, my dearest.
Bringing the story of Eddie and Roger to the screen required state-of-the-art technology. 2 films had to be shot, one in traditional live action using human actors, and the other using strictly cartoons. Oh, hi, Roger. Thanks for joining us. I was just beginning to explain how complicated it was to bring you into the picture.
Complicated? What are you joking? It was impossible. It was a horrendous thing.
Roger, may I continue?
Mm-hmm.
I think you may remember this scene. The one where you got all wet.
Oh.
Okay, let's start at the beginning. On the set, we human actors had to perform opposite thin air.
It'll look kind of like an Invisible Man movie until we put the cartoons in, and then it'll be holes. We knew that to create the illusion, the cartoon characters had to move things in the physical world.
To accomplish this goal, Zemeckis called on the very special talents of the puppeteer.
It's my task to supervise the 15 puppeteers that we're using to operate the different props that Roger Rabbit holds and the cartoon characters move.
Leave no stone unturned. Look, Valiant.
For the effect of a gun being held by the weasel, all it took was a spool of thread and the skilled hand of the puppeteer. To complete the illusion, special effects technicians added a mechanical arm for the more precise movements of the gun. In addition, devices were installed in the sink to simulate the thrashings of a frantic, waterlogged Roger. Lastly, Hoskins himself operated the handcuffs with slight movements of his wrist. It was this attention to detail that produced the seamless interaction between the real world and the world of animation.
Cut. Print it, next page.
But even more crucial than the technology was the ability of Bob Hoskins to relate to his invisible co-stars as though they were actually there.
Is to make it feel right. You know what I mean? To actually make a relationship with thin air.
Although imagining the invisible Toon characters eventually became second nature to all of us, on occasion it was necessary to enlist the aid of a rather unusual stand-in.
We had these flexi dolls built because when you're pointing the camera at nothing, it's very difficult to know, well, where's the rabbit's, have we cut the rabbit's ears off? I mean, has he got enough ear room?
But more importantly, we actors used the rubber Roger as a reference to help plot out the action and determine sight lines.
No lower than that, right.
So I'm looking at his eyes there.
And then you just drop him the...
Just as Hoskins had to struggle with his invisible co-star, so did other actors who appeared opposite Toons. In Mary Poppins, Dick Van Dyke found shooting the penguin dance scene to be a difficult task.
There was a lot of retakes because I would be looking too high, too low, too far back, or my hand would be just a fraction of an inch off. But I was so thrilled when I finally saw that sequence. There was actually a contact, a relationship with those penguins. Little did I know I'd be totally upstaged by them.
In Invitation to the Dance, Gene Kelly's biggest problem was convincing the studio the film would work.
The studio was skeptical. I got my good friend Walt Disney to tell the studio that it could be done, and with Walt's help, we did it. Imagination plays everything. It's all in your head. It's like Columbus on an uncharted sea.
The important role imagination plays in acting with Toons was not lost on Bob Hoskins. Surprisingly, he found inspiration at home while watching his 3-year-old daughter at play.
She's got a load of these pretend characters she plays with. Just to watch her move with someone across the room. She's got that vision of that person there. Maybe she does it. Maybe we got ghosts. I don't know.
111B, take 3.
Yeah, it's like working with a ghost that only you can see.
But Hoskins sometimes wondered just who was running the show.
If you spend 5 months dreaming up weasels and rabbits, you know, they start to get out of control.
There's no justice for Toons anymore.
Hoskins was aware that the film would be a major test of his acting ability. He was quite unprepared for the physical toll the film would take.
Cut. Let's do it again. And act. Let's try that again.
This is a killer. If this had gone on any longer, I think I'd have been in hospital.
I never told Bob what kind of physical punishment he was going to get the next day because that would just be too depressing. Cut. I'm bad. Once again, one more.
I could kill him sometimes. I planned to murder him at one point, but I couldn't get any arsenic from anywhere.
Although the film was no picnic for Hoskins, the special effects technicians had an even more difficult time developing the devices that would meld Roger into the real world.
He's handed a real glass with a real drink in it, and then he drinks it up through there, so the liquid is taken up through there like this, and it goes like that.
However, the mechanical arm's range of movement was limited to one direction. To achieve greater flexibility and a wider range of movement, new arms were developed using state-of-the-art servo-controlled motors.
This is what we developed for Baby Herman, what we call a copycat system. And whatever movement we make with our arms, this one follows the same way, you see. The beauty of the servo arm is that you can make it move all directions quickly. It looks a bit sort of crude with all these wires and motors showing, but of course when Baby Herman is drawn in by Richard Williams, all this becomes covered behind the actual cartoon, so all we'll actually see is our cigar.
I want to talk to you about the Acme murder. Hey, psst, Doc, why don't you run downstairs and get me a racing form?
Finally, a suction system was added to enable the arms to actually pick up objects in the environment. Now Zemeckis was able to bring uncanny realism to Roger's outrageous toon lunacy.
No pain, no pain, no pain, no pain, no...
Cat. Is that superb or was that superb?
That's pretty good.
While Hoskins became accustomed to the somewhat destructive nature of Roger's mechanical stand-ins, he was not prepared for the precarious nature of the scenes involving Benny the Cab. In staging perhaps the most unusual chase sequence in movie history, it was necessary to create the illusion of Hoskins actually riding in a cartoon vehicle. To achieve this never-seen-before effect, a vehicle was specially built on which Hoskins rode and was later covered by the cartoon character Benny. While Hoskins had his hands full trying to deliver a performance at 40 miles an hour, Benny's real-life driver sat to the rear and maneuvered the vehicle through the oncoming traffic. With the addition of a little paint, the driver was concealed in Benny's trunk and the chase was on.
Benny! This cat's right behind us! Not for long, Roger!
Cartoons wouldn't be cartoons without at least one great chase scene that puts our hero in danger. While some cartoon heroes seem relatively invincible, others are not so fortunate and must find more creative means of escape. The possibilities are endless, and the results are spectacular chases not possible in any other kind of film. Whether played for laughs or spine-tingling thrills, the best cartoon chases always lead to an edge-of-your-seat climax. And the chase in Benny the Cab is no exception.
Jumping jibbers!
I'm just amazed. There's things being done. When we start off, you think, you've got to be kidding. There's no way we're going to do that. And we do. And we do it better than we thought we were going to do.
Lay back. Action, Bob.
But the most technically grueling scene was still to come, a scene that would test the talents of technicians, animators, and actors alike. And the place? A little hole in the wall called the Ink and Paint Club.
It's a nightclub for humans, but the employees in the entertainment are all toons. We have an octopus bartender, so he's able to do 17 things at once, do the old shaker and do the salt on the margarita glasses and wipe the bar. And we have penguin waiters, and we have Donald and Daffy doing the pre-show warm-up, which is dueling pianos.
For the first time ever, Disney and Warner Brothers allowed two of their biggest stars to share the screen. To capture this unprecedented event on film, a virtual army of film craftsmen were assembled. As director Zemeckis worked out the logistics of shooting the scene with his crew, effects technicians put their equipment through the paces. The two pianos were rigged so that the keys would move in sync with the pre-recorded music. In addition, hydraulic lifters were installed to move the various panels as Donald and Daffy's antics became more frantic. And just for good measure, collapsible legs were added.
Well, I always thought when I read the script that you know, there was a specific styles and the type of animation that it should have, that the film should have. I mean, the best technique was always done by Disney, and the most interesting characters were done at Warner Brothers.
Hey, what's up, Doc?
And Tex Avery always did, in my opinion, the funniest humor.
Have a good day, sir.
That's what I wanted in the characters, the combination of those three. I always knew the technique was going to work because I had a great animator in Richard Williams who understood the tone of the movie, and you know, and he's an absolute genius.
I'll save you, baby!
The 40s cartoons, they all look like clowns. So I took the orange hair and the droopy head and semi-Bugs Bunny cheeks and Porky Pig's bow tie, Goofy's pants, and Mickey Mouse's yellow hands from the 40s. And then they thought the color, well, the thing is, I'll draw it like an American flag. It's a white rabbit with red thing and a blue bow tie, and it looks like an American flag, subliminally, so everybody liked it.
At one stage, when I was looking at the animation of Roger, I looked at his ears. And once I started focusing on his ears, it was like ballet. And in fact, Richard told me he was sort of mimicking the motion of these ears, sort of based on like ballet motion and movements. In fact, it was like a physical indication of the emotions of this character.
Get out of that chair!
I mean, the thing about we animators is we're observant. Our brains may be atrophied in ways, but we're like children in that we haven't lost our ability to observe.
I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way.
I think with Jessica, I think they wanted to bridge the two worlds. But they didn't want to make her too realistic, and they didn't want to make her too cartoony, so they picked somewhere in between.
Well, Jessica was hard to design because in the concept of the story, she was Roger's knockout wife. So she had to be full of dangerous curves and had to be, everything you would dream of in a cartoon bride.
I'd do anything for my husband, Mr. Valiant. Anything.
If she was real with that teeny waist and the top on the bottom, it would just fall over. I mean, it's not possible. So that's the rule with animation. You have to do what you can't do with a camera. They knew that in 1905. Don't ever do what a camera will do. So everything in animation should have an element of impossibility, but make it believable.
Did some early tests on Jessica and looked at old 40s siren kind of actresses to kind of study and be inspired by great actresses of the period, and then was able to craft it into something that you certainly had never seen before and probably won't see again.
My offer stands firm. Think about it.
It's real important performance stuff here, because this is where he explains his full philosophy. 113. He's here full figure, and he's going, but I'm a toon. Toons are supposed to make people laugh.
Dick would basically sit with Bob at a Steenbeck or Chem, going through the movie. And Bob would show the rough cut of the movie and explain where the characters were going to be and what the idea was.
It was very clear what he wanted. And I said to him early on, I said, look, I'll be your pencil. You know what you want to do. I'm your living pencil. Tell me and I'll draw it. So that's how we worked.
Making animated movies is like watching grass grow. You direct in slow motion, and you're endlessly giving direction to the animators, and then you get just a few seconds of the performance every couple of months. And throughout that process, you can't let yourself lose sight of the original movie that you wanted to make. So, okay, are we all set? Are we all set on this?
There were an enormous number of shots in this film. I think it was 55 minutes of total animation, which meant if you just back-to-back put the animation itself together, it was 55 minutes. A normal animated movie has about 85 minutes. But to have 55 minutes in a live-action movie is huge.
I remember Ken Ralston saying, it's 2 years away and I'm terrified right now. And I said, me too. And so at several points I would go to the door and just yell, draw faster. So it was, that's what it was like.
Roger Rabbit was a very different animation process than a regular animated feature. We started out, of course, with a live-action film, and I would receive a stack of photostats, and basically those are black and white printouts of every single frame in the entire film, so that I can put my animation paper on top of that and draw in relationship to that shot.
And we would rough out our animation over that and shoot pencil tests on it to get the director's approval. And once those got approved, it would go through the normal steps of in-between and cleanup and And then those would get sent into ink and paint, and it was a little different because we had to layer effects elements over all of the animation.
Zemeckis wanted these characters to be very, very round, very three-dimensional. Again, this predates the computer era with round characters, and so the effects department would have to draw highlights and shadows, and each one of those levels would have to be then shot individually under the camera. So the animation cameraman would shoot Roger Rabbit all alone, Roger Rabbit as a matte, where they're backlighting him, Roger Rabbit's highlights, and Roger Rabbit's shadows. And those 4 pieces of film then would go to ILM, and using their optical printers, they would composite it then with the live-action plates.
As a company, ILM hadn't done any cartoon work, and this was a really ambitious project for us. We were much smaller than we are now. I think we ended up with having 1,004 shots altogether that came through here, and before that, the biggest show we had, I think it was Jedi, and that was around 300 or so shots.
At one point, people were sort of mumbling about, even way back then, about how 3D we could take this. Even like 3D early computer ideas, and I was saying absolutely not. Because if you're trying to make, do an homage to these great cartoons, if you take it there, you're not there anymore. You've lost it. We have to find a in-between area where we're doing some shadow work, some tone work, some things that keep them flat, but it gives you the false impression that they're actually part of the world they're wandering around in.
And if you hear or see anything, beat the horn twice.
Yeah, that's it. Beat the horn twice.
So the challenge basically was to try and come up with a way to make these painted cartoon characters look like they had some dimension. And the different characters, in particular Roger and Jessica, had a specific look. Jessica's dress shimmered. And these were just things, as far as optical printing or optical compositing goes, that were very ambitious for us in the sense of just both sheer magnitude and trying to come up with a look that was something that people hadn't seen before.
Get me some money too.
But really the animation process was very much like a photographic sandwich. It was where we took many different levels of animation, whether it was just the animation performance itself, the shadow mats, or the tone mats that we called them, and we experimented with those mats by putting color through them onto color film stock. And we would use rim lights, and to where the rim lights would be kind of like the light edge that would be affected by the key light, and we would use these other mats to bring out the darkness in the shadow areas to give it a sculptured look.
They had to develop a technique for compositing characters in out of focus. And that allowed us to do focus pulls from Jessica, for instance, who when she gets out of the car at the Maroon Studios and turns and looks up to the window, there's a focus pull that is perfectly logical in the grammar of film. And if it wasn't there, the audience would say, oh, there's something wrong with this shot.
So we had to figure out, with the background characters that were out of focus, what that degree of out of focus would mean. And a lot of times it wasn't putting the characters out of focus, it was the level of diffusion that we were using. So, and diffusion on an optical printer could boil down to anything that diffused the light. So you can imagine, holding up a sandwich bag from your lunch in front of the light that's going to the lens and say, oh, does this look great, and having to do tests. It got a little crazy. I mean, all of us were Looney Tunes by the end of it.
Is the way it blends the humans and the toons. The latter's sole raison d'etre is to make humans laugh, and they'll do that, as Roger proves infuriatingly time after time, even at the risk of their own safety. Well, now, the director of animation, and frankly the hero of the hour, is Richard Williams, who's based in London. In fact, most of the film was made at Elstree Studios, where Williams and Zemeckis laboured together to achieve the seamless effect. We talked to the pair of them about how they did it.
I've been trying to make him quit, but he just won't listen to me.
What do you know, you dumb broad? You got the IQ of a rattle.
Nobody has ever succeeded in integrating animation and live action like this before. When Robert Zemeckis started planning the film, could he imagine how it would turn out?
We engineered a test, which basically was an obstacle course for Roger, and it was about 30 seconds long. And when I saw the test on film, it was better than I ever imagined. So then I knew we would be okay.
And Zemeckis called me. He said, wait till you see it, wait till you see it. He says, God, you won't believe it. And Spielberg has only seen this once in his life. He said, before, which was Star Wars. He says, and this is the second time he's seen something like it. This is film history. And then Bob yells down the phone real loud. He says, God, I was born to make this movie. And I was saying, I became very British. And I was saying, is it really that impressive? Well, when we saw it, here, we did the same thing. We started to scream. Because the damn thing worked 100%.
For a complex scene like this, meticulous storyboards were drawn for each individual shot.
Her hand lingers, and then she comes in and she does this thing with chucking his cheeks.
Everything was planned before a single frame of film was shot. This allowed the director and animator to predict the exact position of every prop and character.
When you see the film, you'll see that the cartoon characters move things in the three-dimensional world. So everything had to be plotted out very meticulously so that sets could be rigged and special effects technicians would know what they had to do. So we knew generally where physically the cartoon character would be. We had the voice of the cartoon characters on the set, and we basically shot the live-action movie so that when the raw film came back, it sort of looked like an Invisible Man movie.
By the time the film got to me, we had floating coffee cups and chairs spinning and windows smashing, and then we'd draw over the frames. We'd get blow-up frames of the live-action and draw the rabbit on top of it.
So the actors were faced with a novel challenge. Since all the cartoons would be added when the live action was finished, they had to hold believable conversations with thin air.
First we started by having we had three-dimensional scale models or life-size models of the cartoon characters, dolls, and we would rough out the general position where they would be in the set. And Bob would memorize the eye line for the cartoon character.
What do you think you're doing, chump?
You calling a chump, chimp?
Cut. The presence of the cartoon characters was simulated by numerous technical devices, wires and rods. Their image on the film would have ruined the illusion.
I mean, the new animators, when they come on it, or experienced guys would say, I can't, there's wires, and how am I going to get, a rabbit's arm over this? You've got a wire hanging out here or something. And she said, well, why don't let's take the ear and just cover the wire. He said, yeah, but the rabbit's ear is just sticking out in midair. He said, well, why not? It's a funny rabbit. So you draw this ear to cover the wire or something, and the other ear would be wiggling over here, and it came out funny.
But tell me, Eddie, is that a rabbit in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me?
The special effects are so stunning at times that there's a real danger that you'll watch them and stop following the story. Did this worry the director?
I always said that I would fail if everyone sat and watched the film and saw the beautiful technique, because what I wanted to have everyone experience was the technique becoming invisible, and to be actually drawn into the emotional situation that these cartoon characters were having. And having accomplished that, makes me feel very proud.
I'm sorry I yanked your ears.
All the time you yank my ears?
Never seen this before, folks.
How can I ever repay you?
For starters, don't ever kiss me again.
Well, I'm sure Robert Zemeckis will be relieved to learn that he didn't fail, though the beautiful techniques are indeed beautiful. Toontown, for instance, the home of the cartoon characters, is a place of relentless cheerfulness where everyone is exhorted to smile and be happy, and where practically every Disney creation you ever heard of puts in an appearance. Those well-known ducks, Donald and Daffy, play a destructive piano duet, and even Betty Boop turns up as a waitress in a nightclub, she having been unable to find work in the movies since cartoons went into colour. Lots of nice little jokes like that, superb animation, and a remarkably convincing performance by Bob Hoskins, who reacts to the tunes so easily and naturally that after about 5 minutes you begin to believe in them as much as he does.
The pig's head scene was really a scene that I regretted having to cut out, but it wasn't because we did such cool stuff in it, but but the scene leading up to it, actually the weasels grab Hoskins and they throw him into Toontown to torture him. And what the Toons do in there somehow is they put a Toon head on him of a pig.
Eddie comes flying out of this tunnel. Boom! Hits the ground. And he's got this big burlap sack over his head. And he pulls this thing off, and he's been painted onto with this giant pig head, and Eddie's face is sticking out through the mouth.
And he's running around through the streets with his pig head on, and then he washes it off.
And that's why in the scene where Jessica shows up at Eddie Valiant's office, Eddie comes out of the bathroom and he's only wearing a tie, he doesn't have a shirt on. And they put the sound of a toilet flushing there, but actually he'd been in the shower.
I love the scene where he washes off the pig head and then Jessica shows up and he's naked. The problem was that the scenes leading up to it were like slowing down the movie.
I'm a pig!
And the ironic thing is that animating the pig head being washed down the drain was our very first finished shot, and it got cut out.
Pick him up.
Rummaging around in a lady's dressing room. Tisk, tisk, tisk. What were you looking for, Mr. Valiant?
Last week, some heavy breather wanted one of my nylons as a souvenir.
Look, doll. If I'd have wanted underwear, I'd have broken into Fredericks of Hollywood. You know damn well I was looking for Marvin Acme's will.
Marvin Acme had no will. I should know. The estate's in my jurisdiction.
Well, that was a will, all right. The she and R.K. Maroon killed him for it.
That's absurd.
Someone else is in here looking for the will, too. Probably Maroon's flunkies. I would have caught him, too, if Cheetah here hadn't have interrupted me.
Take it easy, Bongo. We'll handle Mr. Valiant our own way. Downtown.
Downtown? Fine. Let's get a hold of Santino. I'd be more than happy to go downtown.
Oh, I'm not talking about that downtown. I'm talking about downtown, Toontown.
You were warned to stay out of this case, Valiant, but you didn't.
No, not Toontown. No, please. No.
Summer, wasn't it, boss?
Pig-headed, I'd say. I think it's safe to presume he got the message.
You're really slimy, boss. Oh, God. Oh! No! I've been Tuna-roon!
McDonald's Supersize Cups now feature the stars of Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
I'm a coon.
Now at McDonald's, for a limited engagement, appearing on 3 different supersized Coca-Cola cups, the stars of the new movie, Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Good time, great taste. Supersize makes it my place. The good time, great taste of McDonald's.
Big fun.
He's a washout. He's sort of, since his brother died, his life has collapsed. He's just a drunk and alcoholic. And sort of, so the film, what's clever about the film is it actually uses cartoons like Minorities, and suddenly he's got this cause to fight for, and yeah, he turns out okay.
Tell me, how was it to play with the rabbit? That must be the first time in your life you tried that.
Well, an invisible rabbit, yeah. That's I ain't done too much of that. Well, it's very difficult to. Like, first of all, I had to learn to hallucinate to do it.
Hallucinate? What do you mean by that?
To actually see it, hallucinate, like DTs, you know. And because it's like if you're playing to a character there and he's not there, your eyes automatically open up, and you can see that on camera. So I played with my daughter, Rosa, who's got a lot of invisible friends, you know. She's got this friend called Jeffrey, which I'm always managing to sit on somehow, and she was complaining about it. But I realised that as a kid, your imagination is so close to the front of your head. It's part of reality. You know, you can take it out and look at it. And so I spent hours and hours playing with Rosa, you know, developing and pushing my imagination to the front of my head. And eventually I could do it. Eventually I could hallucinate. But after doing it for 6 months, sort of for 16 hours a day, I sort of lost control of it, and I had sort of weasels and rabbits popping out of the wall at me, you know.
How did you feel to fall in love with a drawing?
Well, that was the one character that they hadn't finished by the time we finished filming, and we didn't. I never really knew what Jessica was going to look like, and Bob Zemeckis said to me, "I want you to think up your total sexual fantasy." Yeah, and I thought up this, what I thought was the most fantastic fantasy in the world. I thought, if they show this, you know, they won't be able to show it. You know, this would be an X. And when I saw Jessica, it made my fantasy look really tame. And I felt like the most boring man in the world. I thought even my sexual fantasy don't come up to Disney. You know?
The rabbit while you're washing your dishes. In the water, yeah. How did you do that, actually?
Oh, that was a tough one, because there was the rabbit in the water. I was handcuffed, so I had to make sure, and the handcuff was on a sort of thing, so I had control of where the handcuff was. So I had to make sure that the rabbit, I couldn't have the handcuff over here and the rabbit there. So I had to have the handcuff exactly where the rabbit was all the time. And also, we had, like, there was 30, like, puppeteers, robot, you know, animatronics, special effects guys, animators, and we all had to get it exactly right at exactly the right time, because there was guns going around, there was things being beaten, there was things thrown up in the air and everything. And I think that was one of the longest it took to get it all right. It was really difficult, that. By the time it was finished, my wrist was so swollen with sort of pushing this sort of thing around and holding it in the right place. I was in agony.
You're very hot property now, aren't you? Well, you're what's called hot property in the movies, aren't you? Oh.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. You like it?
Yeah, I love it.
You love being a movie star, don't
yeah,
you?
terrific.
Hang on, the fly's just landed on my nose. Get out of here. Yeah. I mean, you love it, don't you? You're not one of those people who say, well, no, I don't like being a star.
No, it actually comes. I think I can see how people back off from it, but it actually comes to the first time you walk into a public place and everybody in that place knows who you are and you don't know a soul. Yeah. Now, I can imagine like a lot of people actually think, oh, hold up, back off, and that is never going to happen to me again, and they sort of isolate themselves. Well, with me, it was a question of, I've always liked people, you know, and because I didn't know anybody, didn't mean to say I didn't want to know anybody, so I was in there like a flash. You know, what? Hold up, how you going? That was sort of, yeah, and it's great.
Tell me, what's fascinated me is that you made the transition with extraordinary ease to American movies, and notwithstanding you've got a Cockney accent, you're one of the very few British actors who can do a convincing American accent. Why did they suddenly, how did it come about that they picked you for the Cotton Club? And then, of course, they picked you for Roger Rabbit and all the rest. How did they know you could do an American accent?
I don't think the accent really is that good. It's nobody notices because of the shape.
You're shaped like an American.
Well, no, if you're 5'6" cubic and you sort of walk on the screen, who's that? Do you know what I mean? And then, who's that fella?
So they don't hear what you're saying?
No, you sweat through.
Get out of
here. Keep mumbling, you're all right. Elvis Presley started it, you know what I mean? Brando started it. Keep mumbling.
You know, you say you can't get... No, I ask you what you're doing as a director, you say nobody pays any attention. I'm asking you, you're in American movies, are you? You were once paid an awful lot of money for not appearing in a movie, though, weren't you?
Oh, we did with Brian De Palma, yeah. Well, he phoned me up and he sent me this script of The Untouchables. And he said, you know, read Al Capone. So I thought, Al Capone, yeah, I'll have some of this. And I read it and he said, meet me in the Beverly Wilshire, in the hotel, in the bar. And we met in the bar. And he said, listen, I want De Niro to do this. I thought, oh, great, terrific. And he said, but if I don't think he's going to do it. But I want him to do it. But if he doesn't, will you do it? I said, yeah, you know, if I'm free. But yeah, I will. Terrific. No, fine. And I went off and I forgot about it. And then I saw in the paper that De Niro was doing Al Capone. I thought, oh, he's got him. Terrific. Then I was sitting there having my cornflakes in the morning and Linda's opening the mail. She went, hold up. She said, we've got to check it for $200,000. I said, what's that? Hold up. And it said, thank you, Bob, for being my standby. Love, Brian. And I thought, well, if Hollywood's like this, I'll phone him up a couple of times. Yeah, Brian, you got any more films you don't want me to be?
Now, last year's big movie which starred you was Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Now, you didn't do much promotion for that, because did you feel that it was all too hyped, or were you too tired at the time, or what was it?
No, I did. I did a lot in America. I did a lot for Disney, but sort of when... You got to remember, when I'd done that, I did Prayer for the Dying, I flew straight out to America, to Los Angeles, did all the location for Roger Rabbit, flew back to London, did all the stuff in the studio stuff. Then in the middle of that, as soon as I finished that, I flew to Dublin to do Judith Hearn, then we flew back for the Then we flew back for the studio. In the studio, I was doing scenes with Maggie, then running off. I had an office and a phone, and I was setting up the Raggedy Rawny. I was shot out as soon as I finished Judith Hearn. I went to Czechoslovakia, made the Raggedy Rawny, came back, flew out to San Francisco to finish Roger Rabbit with a videotape of the film, and I edited it in the evening. I sat there in front of a video watching little bits of the film, and I edited it and phoned it through to Alan Jones, my sort of editor, and then so that's how I edited the film. And by the end of it, I was dead. I sort of.
Did Roger Rabbit have a bad effect on you? Were you?
I was loopy. I was totally loopy at the end of it. Well, the point was that to do it, to actually keep your eyes, like if you put your hand in front of your eyes and lock off your eyes, and then take your hand away, your eyes immediately open up, and you can see, and you can see that on camera. So you've actually got to learn to hallucinate. And Rosa, my daughter, who's got this friend called Jeffrey, who I've sat on a couple of times, she like, we used to play these games, and she taught me how to. So when we're a kid, our imagination is right there, you know, and you can actually take it out and look at it. But as we get older, we push it further and further back to survive. You know what I mean? And I learnt to do this, and having to hallucinate for sort of 8 months, you know, very intensely, I lost control of it. There were some very rude things happening to people that, you know, and I was trying to hold it together. I couldn't get out, like, you know, I couldn't start doing that type of thing. You know what I mean? It was a bit weird.
You all right now?
Oh yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, Linda took me to the West Indies, you know, and even Rosa said, "You're over the top, Dad. You've gone too far." Well, Rosa debriefed me, you know what I mean? That's where it went.
Yeah, Harvey was the white rabbit as well.
Yeah, Harvey, yeah, but I had loads of weasels and all sorts of things doing some really...
And you weren't even drinking?
Rude things. Well, I can't say that.
No pink elephants. Did your kids like the film? Did they?
Yeah, they did. Jack was a bit funny.
How old was Jack?
Jack was he was just 2, 3, he was just on the verge of being 3, or maybe he was just 3, and he saw it. And like afterwards, he was really funny with me. You know, it took me about 2 weeks to work out what it was, and what it was the fact that here's my old man, he's got mates like Yosemite Sam and Bugs Bunny, and he don't bring them home. He really had the needle with me, you know what I mean? Oh, that, you know, what sort of old man are you? You got friends like this, and all I meet is your boring lot.
You can understand that.
I just flew in, and boy, am I on fire! My name's Roger, but you can call me Roger. What do you know, Roger? I know it's been in cats and dogs. I just stepped on a poodle.
Roger Rabbit and Talking Roger Rabbit, sold separately.
Roger Rabbit is a smash. Newsweek raves it's a sight you won't want to miss. And People magazine hails it as historic hot ziggity entertainment. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Rated PG. Now playing set everywhere.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit received near universal acclaim from critics, making Business Insider's best comedy movies of all time list. The film's consensus is an imaginative and entertaining film that features a groundbreaking mix of live action and animation with a touching and original story to boot.
As a private eye hired to find out who framed Roger Rabbit. Teresa Russell plays an Albanian king in a segment of Aria. And John Candy gets an unwelcome vacation visit from Dan Aykroyd in The Great Outdoors. It's all coming up next on Siskel and Ebert.
Holdover from Prohibition?
Bob Hoskins tries to solve 2 murders while coping with a cartoon character in the ambitious new film, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? It's one of the new movies we'll be reviewing this week on Siskel and Ebert. I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune.
And I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times. Who Framed Roger Rabbit is one of those home runs that Hollywood hits every once in a while. It's a movie like 2001 or Close Encounters or especially like E.T. that's a technical breakthrough and a lot of fun both at the same time. This movie is great entertainment from one end to the other, but it's also one of those films where you're always asking yourself, how did they do that? The movie takes place in Hollywood in 1947, where it assumes the cartoon characters and human beings were living side by side and working in the movies. It tells the story of a cartoon star named Roger Rabbit who gets framed for a murder and has only one chance of being cleared, a private eye named Eddie Valiant, played by Bob Hoskins. Now notice there how realistically the animation is combined with the real world. It looks like Roger Rabbit is really there in the human universe. And look at the way here that real water and a cartoon rabbit interact in this scene as the bad guys come looking for Roger and Hoskins hides him. Roger Rabbit has a sexy wife named Jessica who is briefly suspected of trying to frame him. She's a singer who performs at the famous Ink and Paint Club. Listen to her voice here. It was dubbed by Kathleen Turner.
I'd do anything for my husband, Mr. Valiant. Anything.
The cartoon characters are named Toons in this movie, and one of the things that makes them different from humans is that their lives are governed by the cliches of animated cartoons. That explains how and why Roger can get out of those handcuffs. And it's amazing there how they really seem to exist in the same physical universe. In previous movies, you might have a little cartoon character dancing on somebody's shoulder, but they never really seem to really be there. There have been a lot of previous movies where animation was combined with live action. For example, Song of the South with Brer Fox interacting with Uncle Remus, or Mary Poppins, but it's never been done anywhere near this well before. What I want to do now is look at this scene coming up now from the movie and pay special attention to what the filmmakers are doing and how. That was amazing there where she seems to actually be touching his cheeks. This is Jessica in a nightclub scene, and now watch how she's all over Bob Hoskins here. That's Amy Irving's singing voice. Look, her hand goes under the coat goes back, the hat leaves, now it's pushed in his face. The way they did this was to have all of the props operated by hidden wires or by hidden operators so that later on when the animation comes in, the props would move just as if the animated characters were moving them. The hard part for Hoskins, look at him there, he really seems to be looking at her, and he had to act through this whole movie all by himself. He had to imagine that there was a girl there. He does a great job, and then look, his tie pulls out and it's dropped again. It's just amazing the way those cartoon characters are integrated with the real thing. It's terrifically well done, so well done that after a while you give up trying to figure things out and just go along with the story, which has some serious undertones, as those tunes are treated like second-class citizens. Who Framed Roger Rabbit is a co-production of the Disney and Spielberg companies, directed by Bob Zemeckis, who made Back to the Future, and the animation is by Richard Williams, whose Raggedy Ann and Andy we liked several years ago. One of the most impressive of their achievements here was to convince other Hollywood studios to loan out their cartoon stars. So we see not only Disney characters like Mickey Mouse, but Warner Brothers heroes like Bugs Bunny. I could hardly believe it when there was a piano duet starring the two great ducks, Donald and Daffy. This is a wonderful movie, one of the year's best films.
Oh, I think so, absolutely true. And again, the dominant reaction that I had, mouth agape, how did they do that? Now, one of the tricks that I learned that was very interesting, and an improvement in cartoon technology is, and even an improvement over the classic Disney cartoons like Snow White, which would animate every other frame, so that it would, instead of 24 frames a second, like you see a person on movies, they did it 12 frames to save money. And 2 frames are similar. Every single frame here is animated. They wanted the animation to look as bright and real. All 24 frames are animated, just like Bob Hoskins is running at 24 frames. And I think that's why the film is brighter, more exciting than most cartoon things that we've ever seen, including the opening 4 or 5 minute pure cartoon sequence that opens the movie that is so dazzling and so funny that I tell you, I am going back to that movie to see that sequence again.
The opening sequence of 5 minutes had me laughing louder than any cartoon I've ever seen.
It was hysterical.
And then you're quite right, when you go through this film, they cast shadows. They seem to, the floorboards bend under their weight. When they are in the dishwater, the water is moving. How they did it is, obviously they just worked and worked and worked. And one of the achievements that we really should point out, I think, is that Bob Hoskins was able to interact with an imagination. It's like Alec Guinness in the Star Wars movie saying he had to spend all of his time in an empty room imagining spaceships there, which it's really hard to act
This is bigger
like
than that. Bob Hoskins was picked, I'm told he was not the first choice, that they wanted to go after some comic actors, well-known comic actors, instead of Hoskins. I think they made the right choice going with Hoskins as counterpoint to the... Let Daffy Duck be funny. You need an iron center, sort of a Sam Spade kind of character, and Bob Hoskins, for my money, is the best guy to do it now.
He is matter of fact. If he were going around all the time saying, "Oh my God, look, this is this is Bugs Bunny here," nobody would think that was funny. But the fact that he's seen these tunes all of his life and it's routine, and he accepts them, makes the movie seem more realistic.
Here's the big question I have: who is the film going to be more entertaining for, adults or kids? I know who I think.
I think more for adults.
I agree, absolutely.
Yeah.
From Touchstone Pictures, audiences are flipping over Tom Cruise.
He's great.
Tom Cruise is fantastic. In America's hottest new hit.
I loved it.
Every woman's going to want to marry Bart.
Cocktail, rated R, now playing. And also from Touchstone, it's time to tune in again for the most highly acclaimed movie of the year.
What's up, Doc? My biscuits are burning. This is the last time I work with someone with a speech impediment.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit, rated PG. And Cocktail, now playing separately.
McDonald's has a monster of an idea. Happy Halloween certificates. A book of 10 is only $1. Your gang can turn them in for free dessert treats like cones and sample-sized sundaes at McDonald's. Each book also comes with a mail-in certificate for this free Roger Rabbit when you buy your video cassette of the smash hit Who Framed Roger Rabbit. McDonald's Happy Halloween certificates. A deal so good, it's eerie.
Friends will laugh again. Families be amazed again. Choose the critically acclaimed film of the decade and get everyone into the Who Framed Roger Rabbit habit. Give the video to someone special this holiday.
When you want to laugh again, feel romance again, and be amazed again.
I'll drive. I'm the cat.
And again, you've got a Who Framed Roger Rabbit habit.
Got a thing for rabbits.
So satisfy it the only way possible. Own this Academy Award winner on video cassette. Only $23.99 after $3 rebate with additional purchase. Get into the Roger Rabbit habit.
From Touchstone Pictures, Roger Rabbit is a smash. Gene Shalit calls it a landmark, one of the most extraordinary movies ever made.
You'd better believe it, Buster.
It's a sight you won't want to miss, says Newsweek. You'll want to see it a second time. 2 thumbs up raves Siskel and Ebert. 4 stars exclaims USA Today.
Look, stars!
Who Framed Roger Rabbit, the most highly acclaimed movie of the year. A Steven Spielberg presentation, a Robert Zemeckis film. Rated PG. Now playing at a theater near you. Check newspaper for showtimes.
Right now at Kmart, there's a sale on your favorite tunes. Who Framed Roger Rabbit is on sale for $16.88 at Kmart.
Why, nobody gets the drop on Roger Rabbit. I'll drive. I'm the cat.
Get out of here.
Got a thing for rabbits, huh?
Get me some money, too.
Woolworths. Exactly what you want for Christmas.
Touchstone Pictures, in association with Steven Spielberg, present a Robert Zemeckis film. It's the video event of the decade. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? A masterpiece of combined live action and animation. Taking 7 years to make, it stars Roger Rabbit as an up-and-coming film star and Bob Hoskins as a down-and-out detective named Eddie Valiant.
Booga booga!
Animated superbly by Richard Williams, Roger Rabbit is a comedy a little different from all the rest. Grossing over $154 million in the U.S. box office alone, Roger Rabbit is one of the most successful international films of all time. It grossed over $340 million worldwide, smashing its way to become a top 10 theatrical hit in the UK box office, with takings in excess of £14.7 million. It also received 4 1988 Academy Awards, including a Special Achievement Oscar for its animator Richard Williams. The Sun said, everything about this movie is magical, and the Sunday Express said, one of the most remarkable movies ever made. It's a tale where every moment is a new adventure. In trouble.
Hide me, Eddie!
A picture about friendship.
Please, Eddie! Don't come around, you're making a big mistake!
Love. Compassion.
Well, I'm sorry I yanked your ears.
All the time you yanked my ears.
Murder.
Marvin Acme. The rabbit cacked him last night.
Remember, you never saw me.
Sex.
I'd do anything for my husband, Mr. Valiant. Anything.
And violence.
Tunes. Gets him every time.
You wouldn't have any idea where the rabbit might be?
Got a thing for rabbits, huh?
The whole thing stinks like yesterday's diapers.
It's a comedy beyond belief.
Behind you! I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way.
But tell me, Eddie, is that a rabbit in your pocket or you're just happy to see me?
We told play act idiotic, but we're not stupid.
Touchstone Home Video present Charles Fleischer, the voice of Roger Rabbit.
Hi, my name is Charles Fleischer.
And my name is Roger Rabbit.
Thank you, Roger. Roger and I both welcome you to inform you that Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which was the biggest movie of last year, worldwide over $340 million, will be available on home video cassette.
It's unbelievable, fantastic. It's funny, too.
It's a kid's movie. I don't want to see a kid's movie. Excuse me, a kid's movie? Ay, ay, ay. Big video dollars. Why is it going to be big on videotape? Let's ask some people at ILM. Well, actually, this film had more special effects than any film I've ever done. I worked on Star Wars, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Unbelievable. Say it with me one more time. Big video dollars. I can hear it right now. Okay, let's just go over a few points. The movie was big. Already a built-in audience. It translates across the board demographically. Kids, adults. Big video dollars. It translates to pounds, pounds, pounds. Another important selling factor in the UK is the presence of Bob Hoskins. Great actor. Totally joking. Bob Hoskins, great, isn't he? I mean, he's brilliant. True, kids love it. But adults like it too, because it has a lot of double entendres. You know what I mean? Like, Yambo Pambo means Dinky Winky and Hunky Punky. But hey, I'm not into the hard sell, not at all. I'm here to promote Golden Country corned goat meat. It's a movie for kids, it's a movie for adults. Hello? Am I talking cash? Hello, kids and adults. Who's left? Aliens?
Even the aliens will come down for this one. Excuse me, do you have Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
What format, please?
I would like one for Dabwa.
For Dabwa? Sorry, we only have VHS.
That will do nicely. We can transfer. Beep, beep, beep.
We filmed Roger Rabbit in England. We shot it at Elstree Studios, and I still carry 50 quid. Why? Because I love England. I do. I know I'm a Yankee, a Barclay Bank, but so what? Doesn't mean I can't respect the country that gave us the Beatles, Shakespeare, and now it's your turn to pay back a little. T-Pith, cut the corny stuff, will you? Let's just get to selling the movie. Hey, is it true that Who Framed Roger Rabbit is out on videotape? Yeah, man, that's true. Well, why don't we go pick some up? Where do we get it? At the video store. Why didn't I think of that? It's a chance for you to try and make $340 million in your own store. Impossible? Maybe. Do we have any questions before I continue? It's out and to the left, but we'll wait. Bob Hoskins, an incredible actor. Roger Rabbit, an incredible actor. And Jessica Rabbit, just incredible. It's the release of Who Framed Roger Rabbit on video cassette! See you later, and say hello to the Queen, will you? Nice to meet you, Your Royal Highness.
Touchstone is backing this outstanding release with one of the largest promotional campaigns ever to support a video rental title, including a major multimedia national advertising campaign.
Now drink this, son. It'll make you feel better.
A campaign that will make it impossible for your customers not to realize Roger Rabbit is out on video.
Thanks. I needed that.
In addition, Touchstone will be supplying a magnificent life-size standee and other fantastic point-of-sale material, which includes counter cards, mobiles, poster and window stickers. Touchstone are also introducing a brand new concept, a specially designed Movie Munchies promotion. Customers who rent the video will be given an exclusive Movie Munchies voucher booklet containing money-off coupons for a range of well-known grocery snack products. Each booklet will be worth around £1. Participating dealers will be given 100 booklets per outlet when orders are placed. Contact your Buena Vista Home Video Area Manager for full details.
Eddie Valiant, you're under arrest.
Nice boobies, Rabbit.
You'll never stop me! You're dead! You're not dead! Go!
Which way did he go?
I don't know, but he went that away.
Let's go.
Dum-dums.
Come on.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit will be the most rentable and durable video title this year, and the video event of the decade. Your customers will definitely want to own a copy. With Touchstone's Rent and Sell program, we will help you sell some of those extra copies once you have maximized on its rentability. A full sales kit will be provided, including price stickers, poster banners, standee over stickers, and bromides for cooperative advertising. And remember, you decide when to sell and at what price.
Please, don't mind me.
We believe this complete marketing package will substantially enhance the rentability of Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
This means war.
Not only the biggest box office smash of 1988, but certain to be the video event of the decade.
That's all, folks.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Who Framed Roger Rabbit got a UK VHS release by Touchstone Home Video on the 6th of November 1989.
Friends will laugh again. Families be amazed again. Choose the critically acclaimed film of the decade and get everyone into the Who Framed Roger Rabbit habit. Give the video to someone special this holiday.
Please.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit is a video game based on the film of the same name for the MS-DOS, Amiga, Atari ST, Apple II, and Commodore 64. It was released by Buena Vista Software in 1988 and was later released on the NES and Game Boy.
Certificates. They're 10 for $1. Good for free cones and sundaes at McDonald's. Plus, you get this free window rider when you buy Who Framed Roger Rabbit on video. What a great idea.
Okay, move along. There's nothing else to see. That's all, folks. I like the sound of that. That's all, folks.